So you remember this little BME280, the temperature module, and I connected it to an OLED. They were both on I2C, and did that on breadboard with a Pico drive in it, and I wanted to create a PCB. So JLCPCB came with these gorgeous purple PCB. So this was my first attempt. So it should be quite easy. I mean, all I'm doing is taking the power and the I2C off the top two pins, the power off there. The idea was that I could have this on the board and put the little module on. And when it came, I realised that these modules that I'd got, I'd put them in upside down, so it might work if I put it on the other side of the board, but I had to have it like that. But that's the point of PCB prototyping. I was able to just pull up the Gerber file on Easy EDA and alter it. So I did this wrong as well, but I realised that I had room to lay the board out like that, so I also changed that. And I was expecting these boards to go wrong anyway as well, but I did this other bit of this experiment as to whether I could get them to drill a square hole into the board. And I did that because I was thinking of putting some of these batteries that are out of old Macs into a board like that, if you see what I mean. Not into a Pico board, but this was just a dual purpose board. So I knew I was going to have to order another one of them. And here is the new version. So I thought I'd solder this up today. Obviously I've put loads more words on, made it look so more shiny. But if I show you quickly, once the Pico's on, these line up the correct way, but I can put the I2C in here. So I still wanted it to be multi-purpose, which is why I put another I2C interface in there as well, so I could maybe put something else out if I wanted. But predominantly this was just going to be a temperature module for the cave, so that when I said it's cold in the cave, I could bring this in and show you how cold it was, which is typical as the weather's just turned and it's begun to get warm. But let's solder this up today. First of all though, I thought I'd solder it with some of these turned header pins so that I could just test it first. This is going to have a Pico permanently attached, and the other things are going to have sockets for, because I just wanted this Pico just to run that, and that was it. But I don't particularly want to solder the Pico on until I'm sure that I've done it right. So I'm going to use one of the boards just to put some headers on so I can connect directly in it. So I'll power up the soldering iron and start soldering some of these headers on. Thought if I split this in half it would be equal, but it wouldn't, so I was 4 short. Well, that should be okay. And I'll get myself a Pico that has already got headers in and use that to make sure everything's aligned on this board to begin with. Alright, so that should have soldered those on in line. Now I'll just pop these other ones on, which will probably be a bit more problematic. I think I'll blue tack these ones in. Okay, so let's move that. And pop the Pico in. And my temperature board should go in there. And the OLED should go in there. And because they're set up like that, they all line up. It's not going to line up as well as that when I finish doing it, but you know, I might actually just solder all these onto the board anyway. But let's see how it goes. Let's see whether this works. Let's get some power into it. Not sure what sketch I've got in here. So as you see, it's not as cold in the cave today. Today it's 21 degrees, which is relatively warm compared to how it was. It doesn't feel like 21 degrees, but so it's just a case of connecting a Pico, this is the one here, it's putting that directly onto the board. I'll use standard header pins for this, not use these curved sockets, and set this board up. So let's do that now. Nearly there. So let's cut the excess off the back and clean the back up a little. This really should be a machine gun sound effect for this. Well, I'm going to be picking those up for the next 2 years. So isn't that lovely and purple? Right, so I've just downloaded a new UF2 file onto that because it was a brand new one, and let's see whether I can connect. Yeah, so cool, that's quite an old one, 1.13. Hopefully that should work without an issue. So let me load my timer. Okay, so I've got hold of my main.py, which was the temperature module. So let's save that file, save as, save it on the PiPico, call it main.py. I like to save it with the name of the program as well, just in case I overwrite the main at any point to do something else with it or get the picos confused. So this is going to be BME280.py. And this is SSD1306.py. Alright, that's set it up. Let's run this and see whether it works. Alright, so I just had to fiddle with that a little bit, put a more up-to-date UF2 file. I think I'd got the original one for the PiPico, which it didn't seem to like, but put a more modern one on there. So here we go, shows the temperature, it reads from the BME, and then it displays that on the screen. So that seems to be working okay. Let me just check it is actually altering. Yeah, that's definitely working. So let's try and run that off its own power pack now and see whether this will work for me. Lovely. So all that remains to do now is this. So that's my temperature module. How cold is it in the cave? This is Spidermaf Industries 2022, the SpiderTemp version 2. Hope you enjoyed this little video again. Another project, this time a bit more of a completed project. Looks quite cool, doesn't it? So if you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Otherwise, bye.